Long before the massive Afrobeats festivals, before the sold-out arenas, and before artists like Burna Boy and Wizkid made Canadian headlines, Toronto's Afrobeats concert history was built from humble beginnings. What we see now, thousands of fans singing every lyric, phones lighting up the night sky, all started with a small but passionate community determined to bring the sounds of home to the city they now called home. You see, Toronto's connection to Afrobeats didn't begin with fame, it began with nostalgia. For many Africans who migrated to Canada in the late 2000s and early 2010s, music was one of the few ways to stay connected to their roots. There were no big concerts back then, just house parties, small events, and campus shows. But the demand for that rhythm, for that African sound, was quietly building. At first, there were no major venues open to Afrobeats. The genre wasn't taken seriously by promoters or club owners. They didn't think there was a market for it. But the African diaspora in Toronto knew better. They knew that if someone brought one of the big stars from Lagos or Accra to Canada, the community would show up, no questions asked. The earliest concerts were intimate, sometimes just 300 or 400 people, squeezed into small event halls. DJs would spin Afrobeats, hip-hop, and dancehall, creating a vibe that reminded everyone of home. Artists like Flavor, P-Square, and 2Baba were the first major names to make their way to Toronto, performing at venues like the Opera House or Sound Academy. The shows weren't perfect. Sometimes the sound systems were bad. Sometimes the artists came late. But nobody cared. It was about connection, about pride, about seeing someone from your culture commanding a Canadian stage. By the mid-2010s, everything started changing. Wizkid and Davido were on the rise globally, Afrobeats was crossing into pop charts, and suddenly Toronto wasn't just a stop, it was the stop. The city's African population had grown, university students were spreading the culture like wildfire, and social media was amplifying every moment. Videos from these concerts began going viral, showing packed crowds in Toronto, singing along word for word to songs like Ojalegba and I. That was the turning point. Artists began realizing that Toronto wasn't just another destination, it was a movement. Every big name started scheduling Canada stops on their world tours. Promoters like Afrofest and other local event organizers began locking in international acts. The energy was unmatched. Then came Burna Boy, and that changed everything. When he performed in Toronto, it didn't feel like a regular concert. It felt like a homecoming. Thousands of fans, African and non-African alike, filled the venue. It wasn't just about the music anymore. It was about identity, unity, and pride. The way people danced, dressed, and sang along showed how far Afrobeats had come. That night wasn't just a show, it was a statement. From there, the standard was set. Toronto became a must-play city for every major Afrobeats artist. Tiwa Savage, Yemi Alade, Omole, Rema, and Asake, they all came through, and every time, the crowd grew larger, louder, more passionate. What started as a niche scene had now become mainstream entertainment. Even Canadian concert venues that once hesitated to host Afrobeats events began realizing just how profitable and powerful this culture had become. But Toronto concerts were never just about the performance. They were about community. You'd see people showing up hours early just to link up with old friends. Girls wearing African-inspired outfits, guys rocking the latest Niger streetwear. Everyone came to represent. The concerts became a cultural gathering point, a space to celebrate African excellence in all its forms. And of course, the promoters played a massive role in building this legacy. Names like AJ Styles, who started from student parties and built a reputation for quality events, were instrumental in shaping the concert scene. They understood the audience, the culture, and the expectations. They knew that when you're bringing Afrobeats to Toronto, you're not just selling tickets, you're creating an experience. Over time, the production quality of these concerts evolved too. What used to be simple DJ sets and basic lighting turned into full-scale productions, LED screens, backup dancers, live bands, pyrotechnics. Artists began treating their Toronto stops like world-class performances, and the fans responded with equal passion. The pandemic slowed things down for a bit, but even that couldn't kill the momentum. When live shows returned, Toronto came back stronger than ever. Burna Boy's Love Dominique concert, Wizkid's Made in Lagos tour stop, and Davido's Timeless performance, all of them sold out with record-breaking attendance. It was proof that Afrobeats wasn't just surviving, it was thriving in Canada. Each concert became more than a night out, it became a memory. You could feel the pride in the room every time the crowd screamed Afrobeat to the world, or when the DJ played that final song and nobody wanted to leave. Because it wasn't just a concert, it was home. And let's not forget the new wave of artists. Young talents from Toronto itself, like Nonso Amadi, TME, Teen, and others, started performing at these same venues. The city had evolved from being just an audience to being part of the story. It wasn't just Nigerians or Ghanaians anymore, it was everyone. Africans, Caribbeans, Canadians, all vibing together to the same beat. Today, Toronto stands as one of the strongest Afrobeats hubs outside of Africa. The city has earned that reputation through years of community effort, passion, and consistency. Every concert you see today, every packed hall, every light-up phone moment, is built on the foundation laid by those early believers who kept saying, "We deserve our sound on the big stage." And that's what makes the history of Afrobeats concerts in Toronto so special. It's not just a timeline of events. It's a story of growth, resilience, and cultural pride. From small gatherings to massive world tours, from underground nights to international headlines, Toronto has become a stage where the African dream shines its brightest. Because when the lights go down, and that beat drops, and thousands of voices rise together, in that moment, you realize something powerful. Afrobeats didn't just find a home in Toronto. Toronto became part of Afrobeats. So next time you're at one of these shows, dancing shoulder to shoulder with people who feel just like you, remember, you're not just at a concert. You're standing in the middle of history. And if you've been enjoying these stories, if you love exploring how Afrobeats continues to shape our culture here in Canada, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Because the story of Afrobeats in Toronto is far from over. In fact, it's just getting started.